Good evening, everyone. I just want to tell everyone that this meeting is being recorded and it is also open to the public. The first slide shows the agenda. My name is Gail Guilford and I am the chair of the advisory board. Unfortunately, I can't see everybody. Could the board members please let me know that you're here?
Yeah, it would be good if we could do a roll call or something.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Please, let's do a roll call. Can you do it for me, Tom?
Yeah, I'll do a roll call, and if I miss anybody, please let me know. Gail Guilford,
Present.
Jim Godey, present. Lauren DiMartino, Raymond
Present.
White. Oh, Lauren, you're here?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Raymond White,
Present.
Michael Dowd. Michael?
Here, I'm present.
Okay. Alan Garten,
Present.
LaVonda Reed,
Present.
Brittany Banks,
Present.
Isabel Cumming,
Present.
Matt Neal,
Present.
Brian Barch. I don't know if he would be or not anyway.
Present.
Okay. Is Ivan present? I wouldn't think Ivan would be here.
Yeah, I'm here.
I think
Ivan is here. Okay. Renee Laurent. Mike Henry. I'm just going off of who attended the last meeting. Joanne Amberger. Or
Present.
Johan, I'm sorry,
Johan.
Yeah,
Johan.
no problem.
Yeah. And Tiana, I saw. Is there anybody I missed?
Gary Williams.
Okay, Gary.
I'm here. Tiana's here.
Okay, Gary Williams, Tiana, I know, I've got you.
Hey,
Anybody
Jim,
else?
I'm Richard Mitchell. I'm one of the other assistant inspector generals.
Okay. Richard Mitchell. Okay, anybody else? All right, Gail, there we go.
Okay. We'd like to start off with the review of December meeting minutes, please, Jim.
Yeah, I sent these out. I think I sent them out on the 3rd
Yes.
or the 4th. And just need if anyone has any questions, or if not, I'd like to get an approval of them.
I just thought that we could add something about we approved the evaluation and we what we recommended for the staffing, and there was 2 other things. We can talk about it if you want to offline and vote on the minutes on the next meeting.
Yeah, do me a favor, just send me an email with that, Gail, and then
Yes, I will.
I'll circulate revised minutes, and like you said,
Yes.
we can vote on it at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, everybody, thank you for attending, and I'd like to start off.
Gail, you're muted.
Okay, sorry. I'd like to start off with just the roles of and responsibility of the board. For those of you who are attending the meeting but might not know what our role is. Was somebody trying to say something? Okay. I had it on a presentation, but unfortunately it's not going through. So I'll try to read it very slowly because I know I talk fast. The role of the advisory board is to appoint an inspector general without regard to political affiliation, with substantial experience in law, auditing, financial analysis, criminal justice law, management analysis, accounting, and investigations or another appropriate field. That's the first one. The second is to approve or revise the proposed budget submitted by the Inspector General for the purpose of assessing and determining whether the proposed budget provides sufficient funding to meet the duties of the office. This is presented to the City Council. Review the performance of the Inspector General at least once annually and appear before the City Council at least once a year to provide the City Council with an overview of the activities of the Advisory Board and the Office of Inspector General. We do that at the budget hearing. We are also charged with removing the Inspector General from office by an affirmative vote of a majority of the members of the Advisory Board for misconduct in office, persistent failure to perform duties of the office, or conduct prejudicial to the proper administration of justice. And the last one is whenever the office of the Inspector General remains vacant for 180 days, or the Inspector General is incapacitated or otherwise unable to perform the duties for the 180 days, the chair of the Advisory Board shall issue a report to the City Council on the 180th day and every 2 months thereafter until the vacancy is filled or the Inspector General reports to work. Describing the status of the efforts to fill the vacancy or the status of the absence of the Inspector General. Just to make it clear, we are not involved in any investigations. We are not involved in the writing of investigative reports. We are simply to do the roles that I just talked about and not anything to do with investigation. I just wanted to make that clear because sometimes people misunderstand the actual role of the Advisory Board. We are also mandated to have a public notice of all of our meetings. So we publish it on the OIG's website and we do give a 7 days notice. Does anybody have any questions about the role of the Advisory Board? With that, we'd like to move to the next agenda item, which is the current, environment briefing, and that will be given to us by Isabel Cummings. Isabel?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate my advisory board coming together again to allow me to talk about what has been happening in the last few months. In order to start, I think it's very important that people know that the OIG, the Office of Inspector General's role is that of oversight. And it's oversight of both the city government and taxpayer funds. Tiana, next, please. Why would access to records, which is one of the issues that we have in front of us, why would that matter? Well, in reality, access to records allows us to do our job. Our job is for the taxpayers to be able to follow the money, to be able to see where taxpayer money goes. Offices of the Inspector General have been increasing throughout the United States of America, and it's because of the mandate of the public. The public wants an independent watchdog within government to be able that they can complain to, and they can tell tips to, and they can do all those things. Baltimore City, for the last, at least since we became independent, has been a very strong example of that throughout the United States. Records actually protect city resources and taxpayer dollars, and the offices of Inspector General should be able to review that without interference. Next, please. I think it's very important to talk about how the Office of the Inspector General has become such an important part of city government. When I first started in 2018, the office was not independent. I was the 5th Inspector General in the city. Prior to me, 3 of the 4 had left as a result of being terminated by mayors, and 1 had left because it lacked independence. So when I started, the citizens of Baltimore issued a mandate by 82% of the vote to make this office independent, to make this office strong. And what they mandated has actually happened over the years. And if we look in the middle, that sign shows up when you walk into city buildings. And what's important about that sign is our hotline. When I first started, we used to get 70 complaints. For the last 6 years, we've gotten over 700. So the public knows this office is here, and we, without question, work for the public. But what is important on that sign to me is at the bottom, it says, your identity will be protected. And for 8 years, I was able to say that, and I can no longer say that. I am in charge of the hotline. Also, as you see, the whistleblower complaint form. This office also runs the whistleblower protection area. Also, in that area, for 8 years, we've been able to tell people that we had a strong whistleblower program and that your identity would be protected. Can't do that anymore. The next thing, Baltimore Board of Ethics. Now, the Ethics Board has been around for a very long time. However, in 2020, the citizens in the legislature decided that they would put the Ethics Board, probably the foundation of government, under the Office of the Inspector General. And as a result, we have done many complaints. One of them ended up in circuit court with an independent counsel doing the case. Confidentiality is of utmost importance in those cases. The confidentiality of the Ethics Board, I can't protect that either. Workplace violence policy. The Office of the Inspector General was an important part of establishing the workplace violence. Baltimore does have a reputation of being a very tough place. People here are tough. We're tough. The Office of the Inspector General worked with a task force to develop the workplace violence, because it's not just assaults, it's also threats, it's other things. And this office is one of the places you report those things to. Finally, the Administrative Manual 118-1. That has to do with technology, data, access. And in that, I can't read that well, but the city reserves the right to access and monitor all messages, files, logs, content using the city's IT resources, and that is subject to disclosure by BSIT, which is IT, the Office of the Inspector General, that's us, the Law Department, Law Enforcement, and the Department of Human Resources, as to the extent by law. So, as you can see, and this is just a sampling of it, the Office of the Inspector General has become part of city government, and it's part of what has made this city stronger. Now, the citizens of Baltimore, next, Tiana. The citizens, when they made my office independent, they gave the Inspector General a certain power. They gave me subpoena power. City Charter, Article 10, which made this office independent, which was voted on by the citizens, says that I have subpoena power. And to perform the duties of the Inspector General, I may issue a subpoena to require any person to appear under oath as a witness or the production of any information, document, report, record, account, or other material. Now, nowhere does it say internal records don't count. So the Office of the Inspector General may enforce any subpoena issued pursuant to the subsection in any court or competent jurisdiction. Now, when this law was originally put forth, it was not the Inspector General. It was actually the Law Department. That was changed. That was changed and that was voted upon. And it says quite clearly, the Office of the Inspector General. Next page, Tiana. Now, we have, and I want to be very clear, there are 3 issues at hand right now. 3 different issues. They all kind of sound the same, but we're going to talk about them. And I'm trying very carefully to try to separate all the issues. Issue number 1 involved the fact that the Office of the Inspector General, when we received a document recently, January 16th, we were told that much of it was redacted as a result of the Maryland Public Information Act. Now, they cited a law that has existed since 2010, a case study called Shropshire. My office has done the same type of investigation now for 8 years. And we're going to walk through the different times that this has ever been brought up. So as a result of getting redacted documents on January 16th, the Office of the Inspector General, and that was Martin Luther King's birthday weekend. So we received the documents around 6 o'clock on a Friday. Going through the documents, we noted 200 financial documents redacted. Over the weekend, we pulled the 200 documents and we subpoenaed the law department for the documents unredacted. We issued a return date of January 22nd because the law department had the documents and all they had to do was redact them. As of today, the Office of the Inspector General has never received the unredacted documents. Issue 2. Issue 2 involved a press release that was issued prior to the snowstorm. It was on a Saturday. And on a Saturday, I got contacted by a reporter that what I felt about a press release. I know nothing about it. I checked my phone, I checked I had no notice of any type of thing from the office. According to the press release, in this office, and I believe my board has not gotten additional information about this, but apparently there was, from the press release, there was and I'll show it to you later, but it involved privileged material. And finally, issue number 3, which happened on February 6th, a Friday. A city senator had asked a attorney general for a legislative opinion concerning issues involving, he asked it on a bill involving Baltimore County, whether or not they were going to add education to the Baltimore County IG. As a result of a question that he asked, there was an opinion issued on, I believe it might have been February. We were not made aware of it till February 6th. And that did analysis that the Inspector General would now fall solidly under the MPIA. And at the same time, the city solicitor issued an advisory letter. Now I'm going to walk through the different cases. So we're going to start with issue 1. Next slide, Tiana. Issue 1, which is the Maryland Public Information Act, MPIA as it's known. And for people that is very similar to the Freedom of Information Act. That is how the public and media get access to government documents. And there are exceptions to the Maryland Public Information Act. It's important to know that of the many hundreds of cases that the Office of the Inspector General has issued, I have worked with 4 different solicitors. In that entire time, never once was I ever told that I published information that was Maryland Public Information Act. We issue a full report to both the solicitor and to the mayor, and always had from the very beginning. Nothing changed on that. And we then issue a condensed summary to the public. As much as I would love to issue the entire report, I follow the rules, and that is the way we have always issued those reports. So, next slide, please. Tiana? Okay. Now, in order to describe what has happened, we did a very quick timeline, which I will walk you through. Now, as far as the MPIA and how it has affected other types of cases. So in September of 24, the OIG did a report in which we found fake employee names on Monzi contracts. In March of 25, the OIG, again, with a Monzi situation, we requested their phone that they use, documents are called Slack, and we requested their Slack messages in order to do an investigation. That was the first time in my 7.5-year history that I had been asked by the law department to issue an internal subpoena for Monzi records for Slack. Now, I received the information, no redactions. All right, so then in June of 2025, I had to issue the second Monzi subpoena sent in a separate case. And I'm only telling you the case because it was mentioned by the mayor. And the subpoena was sent on a separate case and called Sidestep. And this time, for the first time ever, I get redacted data. And it was cited that it was MPIA, Maryland Public Information Act, was the reason I couldn't get it. I then at that time wrote a detailed 4 to 5 page letter to the solicitor outlining the differences that I did not feel that what we request fell under the Maryland Public Information Act. And I felt that there was a strong, because I had been doing the same thing for all these years, never had I gotten that before. And I asked at that time if she felt strongly, then I asked for independent counsel. And the solicitor called me back and said, no, that wouldn't be necessary. So I was not given independent counsel on that issue, but it bothered me. October 25th, I released the Sidestep report that I had gotten the redacted documents. Now, when I released that report, I had gotten a detailed response from Monzi, very detailed, hundreds of pages. And like I told you earlier, sometimes my pages when I start are hundreds of pages. I took their response because when I looked at it, I knew that there was information that should not be public, and I could not release their full response. So I then published their response and put a footnote on that I had shortened their document. The director of Monzi went to social media and claimed that we had doctored her report and released the entire amount of documents, including the MPIA. I then contacted the solicitor and I said, I wasn't doctoring anything. It was in fact the matter that there was MPI material and it should not have been released. Within minutes, the link was taken down. The next issue that was brought up was in December of 25. In December of 25, I met with this board, and I told the board at that time that I was concerned about MPIA. And I told them that we had written a position paper because that strongly distinguished the difference between the Maryland Public Information Act and what inspector generals had been doing throughout the state of Maryland that had received their mandate to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse from the public, voted on by the public. And the board reviewed that, and I also gave them at that time, and we discussed the privilege information. And both documents, this board agreed that we could publish. And in fact, Mr. Dodd, one of my board members, said that, Isabel, you should actually do a summary to explain to people exactly what you're looking for and then publish both on the board, which was done on December 4th. Then the next thing that happened was January 26th. I received from the subpoena request that I did on October 20, no, I take that back, from the verbal request that I did, because I did not issue a subpoena, from the request I did for the materials from Sidestep, I received 200 redacted documents from that October request. I then subpoenaed the law department in Monzi for those redacted documents, and I've never received them. I did ask and I did send to the mayor on January 24th, 2 days after the due day had passed, and ironically, the same day as the press release. I did send to the mayor to let him know that I had all those redacted documents and that I was very concerned. I never received a response. Then the next thing that happened was the AG opinion in the city solicitor letter came on February 6th. Next slide, please. Issue number 2, the press release. Okay, now on January 24th, on Saturday before the big snowstorm, that is when this press release went out that said that they had discovered unauthorized account access to their files, the law department, and it included including those protected by the confidential attorney-client and work product privileges. As a result, a permissions audit was conducted, which discovered an account associated with the Inspector General's office had gained unapproved and unfettered access to the lawyer's legally protected confidential work product and communications. At the end, it said that the Office of the Inspector General did not get authorized access to these files for a current investigation. Removal of this access will not impede the lawful work of the Office of the Inspector General. The Office of the Inspector General was not officially notified, nor was my board about this press release. Next slide, please. Now, unfettered access. I had never heard that word. It wasn't until about November. I've been contacted twice about concerns about this office's access, and I've never heard a complaint prior to. I think it was. I have it on probably June of 2025. Unfettered versus direct, but the person I remembered used the word unfettered. Unfettered access refers to the ability to enter and I didn't know what it meant, so I had to look it up. Enter a place, use a system, or review information without any restrictions, controls, or limitations. That means just free-flowing. Okay. And then direct access, which is timely and independent access to all documents with policies and approval for access, forms, policies, approvals. Direct access is the way the Office of the Inspector General has always worked. Now, when Baltimore County spent $100,000 with the Blue Ribbon Commission to set up their office the way they wanted in best practices, the way they set up their office, that they said, the Office of the Inspector General is provided the following powers: the right to obtain full and unrestricted access to all records, information, data, reports, plans, projects, matters, contracts, memorandum, correspondence, and any other materials, including electronic data, of county government. That, in order to do that, they came up and interviewed people from all across the United States about what is considered best practices. And that was set up even after my office was set up. Next slide, please. I think it's incredibly important that the people realize that I have had the same administrator since since he's been with this office since probably 2019. However, he has been with the city since 2014, the entire time having the same access, same administrator, same access. Now, the law department was always aware of his access because he helped them. He helped them on ethics cases, and he helped them set up their IT administrator. Now, it's important to realize that IT does audits. And in fact, the document there, IT Privilege Access Agreement, is an agreement that is done every year between IT and any particular administrator. And that type of data was presented every single year. His access has never changed. Our office also has, every time we do a data pull, every time it has to be associated with a case. It has to have an agent. It has to be signed by me. There's no unfettered anything. Everything is tied to a case, and everything is included in our case management system. In addition, we have policies and procedures, about 5 or 6 pages dealing just with this matter. In addition, all my certified Inspector General investigators have to sit down with the administrator and be trained on how we do these type of work. We do hundreds upon hundreds of cases. Every time we do a pull, it's tied to a case. Most people, because of what we do, have no idea what cases we're doing, because we get in, we get out. We never have ever sat and read anything about, we don't have the time. We have too many cases. That is one of the ways that we keep everything moving forward. We do a case, we get the data, we move on, we go to the next case. Boom. That's the way this office works. But we have always followed the procedures of BSIT, and BSIT's InfoSec team conducts annual privilege account reviews. So for there suddenly to be access issues with the same person we've had for 14 years, and I can't speak beyond that because I haven't seen the audit, I haven't seen anything, we haven't been given any data. Reading that press release, you know as much as I know. But I thought it's important that the citizens know that we do not work with unfettered anything. And this word, we'll just continue. Okay, next data, please. Next page. Okay, I think it's important that people also understand what we've always had. So we will call this the pillars. The pillars represent the highest access given. OIG has had it, BSIT has had it. We've always had the highest level together. Now, OIG had the ability to pull the data forms that once the forms that we keep when we maintain, and is also part of the peer review that is done by the National Association of Inspector Generals, which we passed. OIG pulls data. Now, BSIT with the same access has absolutely the knowledge to see what data we're doing and what we're doing. There's always been almost a Cold War in existence. We know what they do, they know what we do, and now we do not discuss it. Now, BSIT has always been aware of what the OIG does, but BSIT also knows that my administrator is the same. So if they tried to go inside our system, we would know, and BSIT knew what we were taking from their system. All of that has been the way it has operated for over a decade until January 24th, 26. And that's when the press release came out. And that's when my administrator lost his ability to monitor who was coming into our data. Next page, please. So the question comes, access. When did it become an issue? Why? Well, on June of 25 was the first time that we recall anyone ever mentioning the access issue. And we received an inquiry by one employee who directly contacted my administrator with concerns. Those were discussed, and the next issue came on November 25, the second inquiry. Employee number 2 contacts about access concerns. And I respond to that employee. I explained to them that under 1811, we all have the same ability, and we have always done it this way. And then in December 25, I had an opportunity to meet with the mayor and the solicitor to discuss a case that involved, again, AM 18 and violations. At that time, it was brought up that there were concerns about my access. And then I suggested that we should discuss this at a later time, and I'd be happy to meet. That meeting never happened. Next slide. Now, when we went into January 24th was the press release without notification. And the access to monitor and manage our data was cut. I had to notify my law enforcement partners at that time that I couldn't protect the data. I also didn't know at that time if anybody had ever come into our ability to anyone had looked at what we had been doing. At that time, also, I asked for independent counsel, and I was denied. The mayor's office issued in their statement that no impact happened to the office of the Inspector General. I then, on the 27th, notified them that no, my administrator does not have his access back, and we cannot, at that time, he didn't have any access back. So on the 29th of January, he did receive partial access back. At that point, what was important to me, what was important to the integrity of the Office of the Inspector General was knowing if people had looked through our data. And like I said before, the city of Baltimore, one city, we own all the data. So technically, they could always look through the data. Did they in the past? No, because we had the ability to monitor and know that. So that is why I always told people we will protect your identity. So in order to do my job as the Inspector General, I requested from BSIT Security, I requested the activity logs and a copy of the access log audit logs, what happened effective January 24th to now. That request was denied, citing privilege. At that point, I make my third request for an independent counsel, and I was denied. On February 26th, we received the AG opinion in the letter, and now I can tell you as of now, as of that letter, all ability to monitor external access has been cut off for the Office of the Inspector General, for the people that do the whistleblowers, the hotline, and had previously been able to give people confidentiality. I can't do that anymore. Next slide. Like I said earlier, to my board on December 3rd, I told them about the position paper on attorney-client privilege, which has been posted on our website since December 4th, 25. And the words attorney-client privilege are ones, as a lawyer myself, it means a great deal. And however, as an inspector general, your job is oversight. Your job is to be able to do the oversight necessary. Because to deny Inspector General things based on privilege, I think they put it best, far more eloquent than I could, but this denial allows political actors or others who wield power within the overseen entity to hide crucial information behind a facade of privilege. That's why in federal government and throughout in the Inspector General world, we are oversight. So we have the ability to do our job and to get in, get out, and see. That's the way that part has always worked. And that position paper can explain it far better than I can do. Next slide, please. I think you might, did you skip one? No, okay. Then the final issue, the Attorney General's letter and case impact. Because in the letter, in the subsequent letters that I have received, it has been said that it will not impact the Office of the Inspector General. Well, we went back and looked. We went back and looked at all the cases we've done. Of that 324 investigations, 104 involved access to information that, according to this new rule, we would not have been able to do. 38.9 million in identified fraud, waste, or abuse. That's an impact. Cases that we wouldn't have been able to do that have made such a difference for the city of Baltimore. The Department of Public Works. When Mr. Ron Silver died on the back of the truck, we realized that 2 people on the back of that truck didn't have health insurance. And as a result of that, we realized that I asked for information to determine the people that didn't have health insurance. I then, my team did, my office did, we actually reached out to 136 employees in the Department of Public Works through, we individually texted every one of them, and we explained to them that they did not have health insurance, where to go, how to go, and we had fairs, and we worked with the Department of Public Works. I'm proud to say in the end, from that 136 people, 136 employees without health insurance, it went down to 5. Lots of cases involving money, lots of cases that we wouldn't. One case, though, another one I'm proud of, the city, as a result of doing an investigation, discovered that we weren't paying invoices, which we've discovered many times. But this involved the water. This involved, and it was said by one of the engineers that this would, if we hadn't fixed the situation involving the chemicals and paid it and everything, this would have involved a Flint-like water crisis for everybody in Baltimore. And I list other cases here, but I've talked a long time. Believe me, the impact is real.
You get Ms. Beth.
All right. Next, I'm what? Next page. Next page. So what can the public do? Call legislators. This opinion, it was Attorney General opinion. We can look at the law. There's lots of different things, but the easiest thing would just to add local offices of Inspector Generals to the MPIA Act. It's an exception. The Office of the Inspector General should be considered an exception to the Maryland Public Information Act, because the citizens of Maryland and many jurisdictions, the citizens have wanted these types of offices. And this impacts everyone. So applying MPIA to OIG limits investigation resources and contradicts public mandate for independent fiscal watchdogs. I will stress again, this case that suddenly has become the big issue was established in 2010. I myself have worked with 4 different solicitors, some of them incredibly intelligent, federal judge, head of major law firms. Not one time has anyone ever brought this issue forward until what I just laid out to you. Suddenly, this has become the issue. So, but I still have an important issue. I have the problem that I have an outstanding subpoena. And by law, I have the ability to enforce that subpoena. This is my advisory board, and I would like you to allow me to enforce the subpoena as mandated by law and allow me to get independent pro bono, because I am the Inspector General and I will not waste city money, pro bono attorneys to help me get and enforce the subpoena that I lawfully issued. And that's where we are. And this is a resolution that I'm asking my board to please support this office, support the law, to support what the public, because you yourselves, my board, you became what you are because in 2022, the citizens of Baltimore City voted to have an independent advisory board for the Office of the Inspector General. The citizens mandated that by 87% vote, that you would be the advisory board so that I would not have the board that I had before, which would have been the mayor, the solicitor, the council president, a council person, and the comptroller, all elected officials. I am asking you to please pass this resolution so that I can move forward to enforce the subpoena. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time of my board, and thank you. Thank you. Oh, wait, I did forget one thing. May I add? May.
Yes.
I did want the public to know that we are going to continue to work diligently for the citizens. The Office of the Inspector General in the last 2 weeks finished 3 important reports that were all done before this. We finished a report that involved ARPA money. We finished a report that involved purchase cards, and we finished a report that involved permission leave. And those will be, I guess, the last reports that will be issued prior after this, because they are with the mayor at this point. So it does bring me great concern, but this office is the office of the people. And everybody who knows me say I have said many, many times, never underestimate the power of the people. So thank you, and thank you for allowing me to be your Inspector General.
Thank you. I'd like to know, does anyone have any questions?
I have a quick question.
Who's speaking?
This is Mike Dowd.
Hi.
Hi.
So the resolution, as part of it says that you want to obtain an independent server, right, to house all the files, and that is so that all the confidentiality of everybody, whistleblowers, investigations, everything is secured in an independent server, right? So
Is that,
That might not be the current version.
I don't think, I was more concerned, to be honest, this is Matt Neal. He's my deputy. We originally did want that, but right now, I don't want to, I need to study more that, and I don't want, I've always been very fiscally responsible, and I want to see what would be the best thing. And I'm working with my administrator to see what is the best. So we actually, the resolution that I had wanted, if someone can, Tiana, if you could flip up to that. I mean, I thought the resolution that we were talking about was just, this one was just concerning my subpoenas and me being able to enforce my subpoena.
okay,
I will
yeah.
probably be reaching back to this board at a later time when I have a complete, correct proposal, and I just didn't feel I had the ability to do that at this time. So
Oh,
I
all
did
right.
think, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I'm looking at the one that was sent out at 5:53 today.
Yes,
so
that's
maybe-
correct. Yes.
Okay, so there is a separate. So the one on the screen right now is the resolution that we would be voting on. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I there's a real good chance that we might be coming back if it looks like the independent server is the way to go, because without question, I am incredibly concerned about the people that have come to this office, and I personally told them that the information was going to be confidential. And I can't promise that. I can't. I've asked for servers. I've asked for audits. I cannot, and I will not. So I am letting the public know that if you came, I can't, everything has changed. Everything has changed, and I don't have the ability. I don't have the ability to allow confidentiality at this point. And that bothers me greatly.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is just the
This is just to be able to do the subpoena.
right.
So
Yes.
that's it. And get the records I need to be able to do my job.
Any other questions?
Yes, Brittany Banks has a question.
Go ahead, Brittany.
Hi, this is Brittany, part of the OIG Advisory Board. Isabel, are you able to, I'm not sure if you're able to answer certain questions about the investigation because it's ongoing. But just for my knowledge and maybe the general public, what type of documents, or can you give a description of the type of documents that you would like to subpoena?
I've already subpoenaed, actually. What
subpoena.
I'm doing is enforcing the subpoena. We lawfully served the subpoena, lawfully. And the documents are actually third-party contract payments. So what I'm doing, I just wanted to see where the money was going. So they're all financial documents, payroll documents. Matt, if I'm leaving something out, please tell me.
Yeah, they're basically the supporting documents that contractors submitted as with their invoices to receive the city funds as payment. anything that they spent city funds on, or issued city funds to, the financial documents that would support that, such as their payroll journals, for their employees, or anything else they might have. I think one of the pictures that Isabel shared on social media was of a Cash App payment with the person who received it redacted out. But basically, over 200 pages of financial information that's redacted, whether it's the names that were in the invoice lines for who may have been paid for certain roles as part of the contractor, all the way to the Cash App type payments.
So these documents would allow your investigators to show where payments from, I'm just, and again, for lack of a better term, I
From
may not have
city
it,
monies.
from city
Right.
monies
We're-
are going.
We're
Okay.
we're doing our job, which is following the money.
And also seeing what the city approves, what documents the city approves and made payments on based on.
As a Baltimore resident and part of this board, just doing my own research and seeing where there seems to be a pattern of ineffective internal controls over monitoring the MONS program. I'm looking at the Baltimore City OIG report, where it seems that there were some findings that were there. Isabel, can you speak a little bit to maybe the pattern of internal controls or monitoring for myself and for the general public that you've seen with this particular department or program that you're currently investigating?
Do you know which case you're looking at?
She's talking about he's talking about Sidestep, because
Sidestep. There was one that was there was a report in November of 24.
that was,
And then there was a report, I think, October of 25.
correct. So one was Safe Streets and one was Sidestep, correct, Matt?
Correct.
And one was Slack. Slack is the way that they communicate. And our big concern was that the city of Baltimore is paying for a communication, like almost a phone type system. However, we didn't have a way to monitor it at all. And that was, I can tell you that in my now 8 years as being the Inspector General, I've only had to issue 3 subpoenas now, all to the same agency. And I have investigated a lot of different agencies in this city.
Not to interrupt you, but I guess the point I'm making is that I would be in support of the resolution to enforce the subpoena simply due to the 3 reports that I'm looking at. One from the Baltimore City Comptroller, where there were findings issued there, and where that was then referred to your office, and you all had investigative findings related to 26 names or employees that may or may not be valid, but you guys didn't have any records to support for sure the existence of 9 employee names. And then also looking at the 3rd report that was issued in October of 2025, where there's some other monitoring controls over subrecipients. And again, excuse me if I'm misspeaking, but the point I'm making is that as a resident and as a board member, we want transparency of what's happening with our taxpayer dollars. From these reports, it says that your office receives numerous complaints of this particular MONS program that we are talking about and that your office is currently investigating. And with the pattern that I see from these 3 reports, and also from the redacted information that you currently receive, This is just discussion, but I would be in support of enforcing the subpoena. And we appreciate the work that your office does to keep the transparency of government taxpayer dollars and keeping the public informed about what's happening with those funds.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments? I have one. Just could you explain for the members of the board that are not a lawyer, what the procedure would be with the independent counsel?
I would simply, as the Inspector General, according to the law, I'm the one that has to bring forward the enforcement action. I would choose to work with pro bono attorneys to help me do that because I was a heck of a criminal attorney, but this type of is not my strongest suit. So I don't want to waste taxpayer dollars, but I do want to have the authority to move forward with pro bono attorneys to help me just on this issue of enforcing this subpoena. Very limited issue.
Anybody else? Brittany, go ahead. Brittany, go ahead.
Okay, I think Mike had his hand raised, but I'll go ahead. Also, quick question, Isabel, are you able to tell us or give a range of the financial the amount of the financial payments, like the scope of the work? I mean, we know that the MONS program was awarded millions of dollars in federal funds. And so are you able to speak to the amount that your investigations would cover or would like to review or evaluate?
One of the big concerns was the fact that we had gone in front of City Council at the time wanting to expand the program. Our original investigation determined that there was very poor internal controls. There was very poor procedures established, and what was told to the council may not have been as forthright as it should have been. Here I'll defer to Matt, my deputy, if he could please expand on, because if anybody knows the dollar amount, it'll be Matt. Do we have a dollar amount on that, Matt?
Yeah, I believe the contracts themselves that were awarded were about $800,000. Now, I think what was paid out was a little bit less than that. I think probably close to maybe $700,000. But that's kind of that dollar amount that we're looking at.
Not small.
Not small. Thank you.
I think Mr. Dodd had his hand up, didn't he?
Yeah, I know you had mentioned getting a pro bono counsel for this issue specifically, and the resolution states that getting pro bono counsel on behalf of the OIG to enforcement of any subpoena issued by the OIG. So this is really just into perpetuity, right? Your ability to go get pro bono counsel at any time.
Well, hopefully, if we win the first one, I'll learn enough that I won't have to even do that, and I won't have to.
Right. Yes, of course. Yes. But yeah.
I just need help from people that know what they're doing more than myself. You put a financial statement in front of me, and I'm real good. Yeah, but this is something that I will defer to people that may know much more than I.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think this sort of I think it is the right thing to do to basically give you the ability to
do my job.
To do this into perpetuity. If you absolutely need to go get a independent counsel, and especially pro bono, I mean, I think that's perfect. I do not know the I mean, is the process by which you do you simply solicit that on your website, or is that word of mouth? I mean, how do you obtain a pro bono lawyer if you're not,
I've had a lot of people reach out to me.
Oh,
This
you've got
is-
a line
this is-
waiting already here.
Yeah, I think this is an issue that the citizens of Baltimore feel very strongly about. And it's my job as the Inspector General to enforce what they as the people have given me the power to do. Because it's quite clear in the law.
All right. Excellent. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. Gail, I think you're mute.
No, I'm back on again.
Okay.
Does anybody else have a question? Does anybody have any suggestion regarding the resolution?
Could you just
Do
call
we-
for a vote?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to be,
Okay.
make sure everybody's on board. If not, do I have a motion? So we can have a vote? I need someone to. Hello?
Yes, I move to approve the resolution as written.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I second the resolution.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, I'm trying to figure out how I can do this because I can't see the majority of you on my screen. I guess you just have to state what your vote is, yes or no.
It would probably be easier if the board members can just drop maybe their response in the chat.
Okay, okay. Does everyone know how to do that? Okay, if that's the case, would we all could I have a yes to drop your vote in the chat? Okay. Two, three. Did everybody vote? Hello? Can you hear me?
I think
We can
did.
hear you.
Okay. If everybody vote, it looks like 1, 2. Let me go back again. Looks like 5 in favor and 2 abstains. No, 1 One.
7 in favor.
7. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I see the ones that were below. Okay, and 2 abstains. And 1,
3 abstentions, Gail.
Yeah.
3
Okay,
abstain. Yeah, 3. Thank you. All right. That's definitely the majority. So we will get the resolution signed and forward it to you, Isabel. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other concerns for me? I will probably be asking for another board meeting in the next, probably within 2 months. And if anything, I'll try to update you in the public. I try very hard to be as transparent as possible.
Okay, one question I did have, Elizabeth. In one of the articles I read, it would stated that this ruling would affect Harris County, Montgomery County, Baltimore County, and Baltimore City. Do you know if that's correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Any other discussions? If not, I want to thank everybody for attending and voting, and have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thanks all.
Baltimore.
Good night.